get a third party that knows what they're doing involved in the system. Hey, how can I say this better? How can I communicate this more efficiently? How can I, when it comes down to the personal things in life, whether or not, our family thinks that we love them, whether or not our significant other thinks that we love them, whether or not we are spending enough time with our friends to consider us as people that love them. Coming up with a list of activities that are broad and that hit the interest group of the people involved, and then actually going through and trying to follow that through for a couple months, seeing whether or not that's actually led to an improvement in the relationship out of what we're looking for. At the end of the day, we're not ever really going to have it figured out. And anyone that has achieved any amount of success in life will consistently say that failure is a requirement, a prerequisite to get to where you want. And experimentation is my way of making failure an actual fun and exciting process, because if you think about it, experimentation is creative. It's innately something that requires us to want to see something different in the world than that already exists for us. And I think a lot of people are not patient enough to follow through with experimentation, to actually get all the resources together to pose the actual experiment, let alone the amount of time that it takes to actually make it meaningful and to manipulate the result a lasting a problem that we're looking for. So one of the main things that I'm working on these days that requires a lot of experimentation is the family thing. It's the personal connections, trying to figure out how to make those times that I spend with them more impactful, trying to actually schedule out events that I want to be at or that they want me to at, and seeing if those things align with what I want to get out of life, but also hopefully the core values of my family. It's an ongoing series of experiments with my friends and family to see if I can get a more useful outlook or more inspiration in life, more novelty in life. Another experiment I'm posing is with my health consistently, and what I've come to realize from watching some videos from Natalie Dawson is if we can get our butts in bed by 9:30 and wake up at 5 and have those extra couple of hours to dump into actually working on ourselves rather than working in ourselves, or working on our businesses or working on our initiatives rather than working in them, it makes a big difference in terms of how much bandwidth we have for that patience, for that creativity to actually pose those meaningful experiments. Another thing that I'm experimenting with is the business, and trying to figure out what I can do with my staff and the team that I have established to increase that key performance indicator and see if I can really juice a little bit more out of the system that I have already. And with that comes a lot of integrations of data. Again, experiments require data, quantitative data, something that I, in the past in my life, have missed a lot, and I've always wondered, if I'm actually making the gains that I want to make. Another experiment I'm posing is with Terapify, and with all the content that I put out, right? Like, what are the things that my target audience, my target personas are actually looking for to learn from in their lives? And most of the stuff that I come to is, since I make these videos all the time, it's difficult to come up with new ways to engage. It's difficult to sit down and, prior to making the videos even, to think about, hey, what is it that I really want to talk about right now? Because there's only so much time in the day. And a lot of that experimentation comes down to me consistently manipulating not only the way that I convey an argument or a point, but also how I'm getting the information to get to those conclusions. So whether it's through a book or through a mentor or through another channel or through a podcast with someone, how am I actually populating my mind? This life is long. There's a lot going on. How do we keep inspiration to an all-time high? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to having a really strong philosophy about why we're doing something. And those philosophies tend to get bolstered by wins that we experience, by the things that, a lot of people in this life aren't really looking for. It's a lot easier to kind of mellow out and not put so much weight on ourselves. But me being a young individual, under the age of 40, I want to make sure that I'm putting ample weight on. I want to make sure that I'm spending ample amounts of time to build my muscles, my inspiration muscles, my execution muscles, my strategic planning muscles, my leadership muscles, right? There's a tremendous amount that we can put ourselves through in order to get a different perspective on the content that we put out, for instance. So I've been thinking a lot about building out personal brand and how to actually leverage personal brand to create revenue streams or to create opportunities. And a lot of it comes down to patience. A lot of it comes down to, finding the right person, building up enough capital to actually get a third party that knows what they're doing involved in the system. But really, just day after day after day of trying to figure out, how can I say this better? How can I communicate this more efficiently? How can I really give the most amount of value to the listener? And it's very important. It's very, very important to set aside the time to work on things rather than in things. It's our way of extracting ourselves from our ego and really looking at things objectively. We benefit a lot in life when we do that because there are very few indicators in the natural world of things actually evolving and getting better, right? The natural world in general is a very patient place. There's a sense of urgency and survival, but in terms of if you scope out and look at the evolution of a species or the changing of a landscape over time, you could look at your own towns, right? Your own cities. If you've been living there for 10 plus years, you probably recognize the raw amount of change that an environment goes through and how years are required in order for the right people to move in and do those things. So I hope this message encourages you to look at life a little bit more long term and to pose those experiments in every single aspect of your life, to not settle for how things are. If there's a emotion, if there's something that consistently comes up that you don't want to feel, that you don't want to go through, that there are ways to get out of it. It's just a matter of working on the problem rather than in the problem. Hopefully this message finds you well. If you made it to the end of the video, you know what to do to support me. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself, and let me know if there's any specific types of content you want me to make. Things that have been useful to you in the past, perhaps if you've seen my other videos. Take care of yourself. Peace.